Hey, what's up, everyone? This is the Dattie podcast, and we are with Ivan from Ivan SMP out in Austin, Texas. Thanks for joining me, Ivan.
What's up, Joey? Thank you for having me. It's been a minute since you've been asked me about this. That you invited me. I've been watching your show, and I want to congratulate you for what you're doing. I know this is something that not everybody does. There's a lot of things going on that a lot of people don't know behind the scenes when it comes down to any business. And actually, you take the time to go the extra mile to do things outside of your business to help the industry and to make other people aware of SMP, which is great. It helps everybody. So I want to thank you for what you're doing, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I have met you in 2021 in person at the Phoenix Scalp Expo. You remember that?
Yeah, it was the SMP Expo in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yep. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. It was the first one I had ever been to at that point. I think it was the first one probably in the United States that had Jeff put on and your team with leaders. You're still with leaders, right? Just to confirm.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. And I definitely have some stuff I want to ask you about that. But first, I just want to say, where'd you grow up? Where's Ivan from?
So I was born in Mexico. I came to the U.S. when I was 10 years old. I grew up in the Midwest, about an hour north of Chicago, a small city called Rockford, Illinois. I'm based out of Austin now. I moved about 8 years ago here to Austin, Texas.
Okay. And what was it like coming over from Mexico as a little kid? Did you know English at that point?
No, when I first came here, I didn't know English. Obviously, Spanish is my first language. And yeah, I learned quick, really. It took me a minute to like transition from going to like a bilingual class, bilingual school to like, all English. But I learned within the first week, the first year, the second year, the most basic, and I could, whole communication and stuff like that. But yeah, it was different for sure. Coming here to a country where culture is a little bit different. Just everything, everything from TV, from the education, from not having all your family. Like I have a huge family in Mexico, like cousins, aunts, everything. I came here, I really didn't have a lot of family here, so that was the biggest thing, just growing up without my big family over here.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I've talked to multiple people who've immigrated to the United States. Sometimes not everybody comes at the same time. So did your mom and dad, brothers, sisters all come at the same time, or was it kind of staggered?
Yeah, so my brother, my older brother, there's actually three of us. He was born in LA, and he went immediately back to Mexico, maybe before he was a year. And he's actually my half brother. And then my mom got divorced from her first marriage. And then basically, when my brother was 19 years old, he came back to the US to live with his dad. And after that, a few years later, he basically got my mom citizenship. And then my mom basically helped us to get our documents legally here. But yeah, it's something that it took a minute for us to come over here because my mom had to go back to Mexico to sell the house and everything, and then she eventually came. So I originally came with my older brother, and there's a middle brother, and I'm the youngest out of three. And we came here for a little bit, and then she came after a while. But yeah, it was tough, man. Just having to leave all your friends, all your family. But eventually, you get used to it. Like especially being that young, you just enjoy things that I wasn't able to enjoy when I was a kid. Like going to a lot of theme parks and water parks. I don't know, access to a lot of toys and stuff like that I couldn't in Mexico.
That makes sense. Yeah, I guess America has a lot more money. But let me go back to that. So when you come over here, I guess how long were you living without your mom? And were you in LA at the time, or were you in Illinois?
No, we were in Illinois. We're in Illinois at that point. Just for like 2-3 months, I believe. It was right before we started school during the summer.
Still, that's scary. I mean, when you're like 9, 10 years old and your mom's not around, I would, that could be hard for a kid. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Not to, hey, it's your mom. And when you're a little kid, your mom's like the number one person in your life, your mom or dad.
Yeah, yeah, especially my mom because she was pretty much was my mom and dad. I grew up without a dad, but she was always there. The thing the biggest thing that I learned from my mom was to be a provider and be a hard worker because she had to. She came to this country without knowing any English, without driving, and she still was able to provide somehow.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, that's incredible. I grew up with a single mom as well. It's hard, and when you watch them work, and the older you get, the more you appreciate and you see how how fucking difficult it is to do
Hmm.
everything that they did when you're a kid.
Hmm.
You know, juggling work, taking care, paying all the bills, and then taking care of all
Oh
your,
yeah,
kids got bullshit that they got to deal with from
yeah.
school and
Yeah.
all that. Calls in ruckus. I don't know. Were you a bad kid, Ivan, or were you a good kid?
Man, I was a terrible kid when I was growing up, and yeah, I would always get in trouble, bro. Like I was always in the street. I was like in a little gang, like over there in the barrio, the little hood. I was maybe like 5'6", gang banging and stuff like that, but it was stupid. But yeah, I was always getting trouble. But as soon as I got here, man, it was different. I had a little bit more of a uh, my older brother definitely made me line up a little bit with my bad behavior. But I still would get in trouble here and there, but it wasn't as bad when I was in Mexico.
Okay. And so you're coming through. What relation is, I guess, where you lived in Illinois to Chicago? Because I lived in Chicago. Well, outside, I lived in Great Lakes for like
Hmm.
9 months. When I was in the Navy, I went to the boot camp there, and then I went to the tech school there. Like, how far are you from there?
From Chicago, man, it's about an hour and 15 minutes, hour 20 minutes or so.
Okay, so it's pretty
Yeah,
close.
yeah, yeah. We go there all the time.
Okay. Uh, and are you married? Do you have any kids?
Yeah, I have a 9-year old daughter. I am married. We're about to be 11 years married.
Wow, wow.
Hmm.
Congratulations. 11 years. Good for you,
Hmm.
man. And your wife down in Austin as well?
Yeah, yeah, we live together for sure.
Okay. Okay, cool. You like being a dad?
You know what, man? It's definitely something that it's tough to describe the feeling. When you first see your kid, born. It's something that nobody prepares you for. Definitely happy to be a dad. It's especially being the dad of a girl. It's. I know right now it's cute and everything, but I know like it's gonna be tough. During those teenage, which I still haven't prepared mentally about that yet. But because we all know
I think
how we are when we're teens, like that's the
oh,
scary
I
part about
know. My daughter's only 6 months, and I think, oh man, I know. My son's 3, and my daughter's 6 months, but I know that eventually it's going to be different. Like you said, in the
it. Hmm.
teenage years, things are going to change. Even if you do your best, they're still going to have an attitude, and you're going to have
Yeah.
to, navigate through that.
I think what helped me when it came down to parenthood, it was the responsibility of being a dog owner. So I have 3 dogs now, but the beginning, showed me to have be responsible for somebody else other than myself. And dogs are different because I feel like they open up your soft side. And definitely it helped me a lot. Um, when my daughter was born, for sure.
I love that you said that because I actually did the same thing. I also have a dog, and I had her. I guess I've had her 8 years now. She's 10, and so I guess I had her 4 or 5 years before my son was born. But you're right; it
Hmm.
does kind of prepare you of thinking about something else you have to take care of, and
Hmm.
at least getting home at night to feed and take them out, let them out, go pee poop, and all that sort of thing. And you start to love them, right? You start to love
Hmm.
this other thing that's not you or your girl, whatever the
Exactly.
case might be. It definitely teaches you some responsibility. What kind of dogs you got?
So I have 3 dogs. I have a little Chihuahua.
Me too.
I have a Husky, and I have a Lab. This Lab is 6 months. We just lost our 10-year-old Lab in November. So that was
Right.
like really, really tough. And it was really, especially what my daughter grew up with her dogs. And this dog was super special to us, and we lost them. And we just got a new lab, kind of to like fill in the void a little bit. It's never gonna be the same, but it's something that nobody prepares you either, for I always hear people like crying and being sensitive about their dog. My wife had lost a few of her dogs too, like when she would cry and say like it didn't feel, I didn't feel it until this happened to us a couple months ago. And it was really tough, man. um, it's kind of like I don't know if you've seen the movie Marley and Me. It's exactly how that happened at the ending. That was exactly how it happened to us. And I was the other day watching that movie again, man. I started like, crying like big time. It's tough, man. We still every time I talk about it, I think about it, I get a little bit sensitive. But it's something that, like I said, it helped me to soften up a little bit, because I was very I don't know, very
Desensitized.
desensitized with my feelings, bro. But
Yeah.
the dogs, man, they definitely help you. They soften you up big time.
I agree. I think about it more often than I should. Is like, man, when my dog dies, how terrible it's going to be. And I have a little Chihuahua too. She's 9 pounds. I love her to death. I didn't even know that I could love a dog as much as I love the stupid dog. But I do.
Hmm.
I love her. I love her.
Yeah,
And it sucks that they don't live as long as we do, or like, I don't know,
yeah,
30 or 40 years. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. That, like when this happened to us, that was very unexpected. I was out in where was I? I think I was in Spain when my wife called me up. He's like, hey, 2 days before I came, he's like, he's been bleeding for a few days. I don't know what to do. As soon as I got here, we took him to the vet. They gave us some pills and stuff like that, but they're like, he's gonna need some surgery. And we went for a second opinion, and that second opinion, just like the news that they gave us, because they did x-rays and everything, they're like, you know what, he has a few weeks, maybe a few months to live. And man, we couldn't believe it. And man, right after that, the ride home, and I never seen my dog so sad, man. Like, he's always so super excited, but right after that visit to the vet, man, he was just totally different. He lasted about a week and a half, and we had to put
Oh,
him down. Hmm.
damn, man. Yeah, that's horrible. That's horrible. Um, so we'll move on from that. We'll move on.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
there's
yeah.
a lot of dog lovers listening, and they're all thinking about their dogs. Hey,
Oh yeah.
it's definitely a way. It definitely helps you in regards to getting responsibility. So you're
Hmm.
in Austin, Texas. Uh, I've messaged you many times over the years because I'm such a big fan of Rogan. He's in Austin. Austin's like this booming city. You got
Hmm.
Elon Musk. It's like the new Hollywood, right?
It's
Um,
like the next Silicon Valley, bro. A lot of tech companies are coming down here. We got Tesla about 10 minutes from my house. 15 minutes from here is going to be the new Samsung
really?
plant. Yeah, I got Apple. We got
Apple's
Google.
coming down there? I did.
Uh,
Apple is there.
Apple has been here. They have a huge facility, and then I think they just opened a new facility, like a bigger one, for like their corporate offices. I used to work at Apple, but the new one that they actually build it's much bigger. Anyway, yeah, Austin has been a this whole area, man. Everybody's coming to this area for the last 10 plus years, so there's a lot of opportunity. Everything that is being built is businesses, is new development for like apartments, houses. It's just huge, man. It's huge.
So I'm assuming you got your house before COVID, did you? Because
Hmm.
if you did, it should
Yeah,
be you should be making
yeah.
some money, especially with the
Oh
boom
yeah.
in Austin. Good
We
for
got
you.
it, I believe, 2017. I believe
Oh,
17, 18. Yeah.
wow.
So yeah, my my equity is like double what the house
Hell
is.
yeah.
Okay.
Congrats, man, on that. The only problem is when you sell now, it's like then you got to buy a house and it seems like they're all inflated, right? Yeah, you're going to make a
Hmm.
nice profit, but if you're going to try and stay in the surrounding area, it's still going to be expensive.
Yep. Yep. It's the
Um,
it's the people from California that moved to this area, man. People from here like hate them. Like they're like, no, no more
what? How do you feel
Californians,
about that? Let me ask you. How do you feel
bro.
about
I don't care, man. I really don't care. Like there's people immigrating from different states, from different countries all the time. So I mean, I see their point of view. I understand why they would be mad, but one thing that I can tell you is like, for example, and this happened because well, I know about this because I would talk to a lot of people moving in, because I used to work for AT&T, and I would connect their phones, their internet, TV, all of that. So they would tell me sometimes that they just sold their house in, I don't know, LA or whatever, and the houses in LA are super expensive. Like very, very expensive. So for the price of a house in LA, you can buy like a mansion over here. So some people would buy either a bigger house, or they would just not work for like 2, 3 years after they moved to Austin. So it's crazy. But yeah, think about it. Like there's big companies, for example, I don't know, Google. Let's say Google. If you hire somebody from California and then they move to Austin, the the houses and I guess the economy is different, because it's a lot, I guess, cheaper over here than
yeah,
what it is in
for
California. So
now,
they're
for
able, so
now.
they're able to afford like bigger houses and stuff like that. So what happens with the locals, right? So that's why there's a lot of people like moving outside of Austin. They go to the suburbs around Austin, because Austin is really expensive to live for sure.
Mhm. And I mean, Austin does look awesome. And everything you said makes sense. And let me touch on something now, whether or not we keep this in the podcast or not, we'll see. But I want to ask you, you being an immigrant from Mexico, and we're talking about immigrating from California, how do you feel about what's going on at the border? Does it affect you? How do you feel about that? As a guy
Yeah,
from Mexico who came to the US
yeah.
legally, how do
Hmm.
you feel about the situation right now?
Listen, man. I feel like as human beings, we all deserve the right to pursue happiness and to have a good upbringing for your family. And I know in some countries, some areas, it's just not possible for that, right? So I feel like any country that you go to, there's immigrants going from different countries, not only in the U.S., but when it comes down to U.S., it's a little bit different. I feel like there is a process to be here legally. Uh, my my own experience, I had to wait 7 years before I could get my papers legally, and I was able to go back after 7 8 years. I went back to Mexico when I was 18 years old for the first time. And during that time, there was many times that I wanted to go back and visit my family, but I couldn't. I had to wait 8 years to get my papers. I came here to the U.S. legally. I had a visa, I had everything to be able to come here. But there is ways that people can actually be able to come legally to this country. Uh, if they come in different ways, it's not to say that I'm against one or the other. I see both sides. Like have a lot of friends that came to this country or still come to this country illegally. It's not like I'm talking bad about those people. Like everybody's situation is a little bit different. I can only talk about my own personal experience when it comes down to it. Like my mom, my brother. Basically they spend a lot of time and a lot of money for us to be able to be here legally.
That makes sense. And you get it. So, and I can also see that point of view. If I was a kid from Mexico and we were poor, why wouldn't I try to cross the border? Why wouldn't I? Especially with the things that are going on right now, that they're kind of just letting them, which at least that's what it appears, right? They're kind of letting them. They're
Hmm.
giving them a 4 or 7 year waiting list to come to court. I would do the exact same thing if I was in that situation. But then you see the other side, people here in the U.S., and they're saying, well, they're coming across, they're not being vetted, they're not being interviewed. Like, are they a terrorist? Because it's not just
Yeah.
people from Mexico. You know,
Right.
there's Chinese, there's Guatemala, yeah, there's everybody. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And then they're going, oh, it's military age men and all this stuff. So there's all these other theories. It's
They just let them in. I feel like it's one of those things that the governor of Texas is very against all of that.
oh, I
And
see them going off.
he's going against the federal government. But yeah, I mean, it's a very sensitive topic because it's you're gonna and at this point you're gonna bring political views and stuff like that. But what I'm gonna say is like I can only talk about my own personal experience, my own personal view, and what I went through, just to be able to be here,
And so you see both sides.
I can see both sides. Like I said, I have friends, I have family that were here legally and some illegally, and I understand. I had some friends that they could never get their papers here, so they ended up going to Canada because they couldn't get their papers here in the U.S.
I heard it's easier, right? So if you go to Canada,
Hmm.
you can become a citizen in like 5 years or something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a little bit easier in Canada for sure.
Okay. Okay. And so you're down. Is your shop also located in Austin?
We are about 15 minutes north of Austin. Yes.
Okay. And what's the name of it?
Hmm. The town is called Georgetown.
Okay, Georgetown. And
Mhm.
what's the name of your shop? Is it called Leaders or what's it called? It's called
No,
Items
so
SMP.
so when I first started the business, I started that with my wife. We have the name called Mili's Beauty Studio. It's basically how we came up with the name. My daughter's name is Mia Lisette, so basically we just took those names and we call it Millie. But yeah, it's a business. Everything that I do is under that LLC, which is my my business with my wife. But when it comes down to training, yeah, training, I do it under Leaders at SMP. Right now, this is one thing that I have. Really, it's more like a business identity crisis. I don't know, what to do when it comes down to it. Like I've always helped other people, to grow their stuff, and I didn't really focus so much on my own branding, but I do it more like as an artist rather than a company, because I did work for example, for Jeff, we opened up a shop here for 2 years. I did it under his name or his business name, Picasso,
Uh-huh.
and I did it for a while for my wife, and then I'm kind of doing it on my own right now. But I don't have a name other just my name, Ivan Alvarado.
So you're at a crossroads. So you're in limbo right now, trying to figure out your next move. Okay.
Yeah,
It makes sense.
this.
I get it. So
Yeah.
you took advantage of different opportunities, which I think is
Hmm.
smart. Linking up with Jeff opens up a shit ton of doors, and you've done it. I mean, you're an amazing artist. On top of that, um, and I'll ask you some more stuff about the Leaders
Yeah, for
in a
sure.
little bit. Um, so, what kind of work did you do before you did SMP? You said you were at the
Yeah.
Apple, AT&T.
So I've always worked pretty much in customer service and sales since I was 18 years old. My first job was to sell life insurance, refinance homes and stuff like that. This is where I basically learned the most important thing, which is like customer service and sales. With them, they encouraged me to read books, sell motivation books, all this kind of stuff, man. With them, I was there for like 2 years. I won like a few trips for like the top sales rep, all paid for and stuff like that. And then I moved on to work like another like customer service sales jobs. I did Verizon, I did Best Buy. Then I started working at AT&T. No, actually, before AT&T, I worked at a customer service call center. Then I did AT&T. I was there for like 4 years. I started in Rockford, Illinois, and then I moved over to the Austin area because of my numbers that were so good. They allowed me to transfer to Texas, and from there I worked at Apple. And then I had a part-time job at T-Mobile, so I was working T-Mobile and Apple at the same time, and that's when I found about the microbleeding industry, which is like PMU and then SMP. Um, but yeah, the main jobs that I always had was customer service and sales, and I always did like things on the side. I was a DJ. I had my little DJ company. I always fix computers, websites, marketing, things like that. I've always worked, man. Like, even if it wasn't my main job, I always had like a little thing on the side.
I love that. I love that. And that's why you're successful. And sales is the number one thing in any business is sales. Because
Mhm.
if you can't sell the product, you can have the best product in the world, but if you can't sell it, it ain't shit. You know what I
Both
mean?
customer service and sales are the most fundamental things, and I feel like that is why, for example, people that are in industry, which is like, for example, SMP, it's not easy to, it's easy to start, but it's not easy to stay and continue and be successful with it, right? But I feel like what we all share is number one is a passion. Number one, we share the passion to do SMP. Number two, I feel like we have a strong background when it comes down to maybe either some kind of sales, customer service, or you have your own business.
Yeah, you're 100% right. 100% right. And um, so you do all these things, and I'm leading
Hmm.
up to it. So you're doing all these sales. You see microblading. You learn about scalp micropigmentation, but your first experience getting SMP wasn't a good one, right? You want to go
Okay,
into it?
so this is what happened when it came down to me finding out about SMP. There was a transition between me going to AT&T and Apple. I was a manager at AT&T, so I was making good money, and I had to go to Apple, and the amount of money that I was making at Apple wasn't as good as what I was doing because it was commission, it was sales, all of that. And then I ended up going to get a part time to kind of like compensate and balance, my my income. And had no days off, bro. I was working every day. My days off at Apple, which was my full time, was a full day at T-Mobile because so I was there part time. So I would go early, open up the store, and right after going there, like 4 hours, I would have to go and do a full shift at Apple. So I would leave my house like around probably 8:30, and I wouldn't come back until 11:30 every day. So I was really tired. I was really tired of that. And my wife is a certified or graduate for cosmetology, which is hair in Illinois. And she never had to worry about working or anything like that. I provided, and she basically fixed the house. She cooked, cleaned, took care of my dogs, my daughter, everything, right? So when it came down to that point, and she told me before too about microblading, and I just didn't pay attention to her, to be honest with you. I'm like, we're doing okay, like there's no need for you to work. But when I was getting tired, I'm like, okay, hey, about that microblading thing, let me help you look it up. So I started looking up like schools and what this is all about, and that's when I started to follow like a bunch of like microblading artists and started following their Instagrams, and I would see like them traveling, doing trainings and stuff like that. I'm like, man, this is interesting. It wasn't until one time I heard like an interview of somebody mentioning that there was this couple that the lady started doing microblading, and the husband was a construction worker, and he started doing brows, and they were doing it together. And I was like, wait, guys are doing this shit too? I'm like, I thought it was just like maybe like women or like like gay guys or whatever. But
Not
no,
that
the
there's
guy was
anything wrong with
straight.
that.
No, not at all. But I was like, you know what? Let me look into it. So, and I told my wife, I'm like, you know what? Let me do this with you, because she was almost done with her certification. And 2 3 days I was there like doing the little strokes. I'm like, man, this is hard. Like I can't do this. And I was about to like sign up for that training. And that's where I saw SMP. That's where I first found out about SMP. And I got mine done because I have a little bald spot here. If you guys are familiar with a Norwood scale, I'm like 2 or 3 vertex, right? So I have receded hairline, a little bit thinning here, and on the back. And we'll talk more a little bit about that later. But anyway, I had that, and when I got it done, they didn't educate me about shaving my head, hair follicle replication, all of that. I didn't know. I just wanted that little bald spot that bothered me to be covered, right? So they went as dark as my hair. You guys can see my fucking hair is super dark. So when they did it, they went as dark as my hair, and I believe it was like 2-3 sessions. And now I found out what there was used. It was they used a PMU machine. It was a one single a needle, like 1 RL, and I don't think the pigment was mixed correctly. So after that, I took my first training in New York, um, 2 day training, and that's where I found out a little bit more about SMP, and that's where I was like, man, I think they fucked me up. So I kept it for like 2 years, and I would leave my hair a little bit longer to cover both the bad SMP and my bald spot. And I knew I needed to get that removed. And I did a call one time to a laser removal place here locally in Austin, and they're like, yeah, we can do laser removal, but you need to shave your head in order for us to be able to do it. And yeah, I used to like cut my own hair with the clippers and stuff like that. I would literally just cut it up to like here to do like a fade, like a little taper. And one day I just went a little bit too far. I was like, fuck, man, it's uneven. It looks crazy. So I was like, you know what? I do need to do the laser removal anyway. Let me just fucking shave my head. Boom. So I shaved my head. I looked at the mirror and I'm like, fuck, this is fucked up. My SMP was terrible. It was blue. It was like a big, blob here, like the little hole there, and like all over. It was terrible. Anyway, so I did my first laser removal, and I did a video with him. I never posted or anything, but he was explaining the difference between laser removal and saline removal or anything else versus the laser, which honestly, laser removal is the most effective. And yeah, you need like 2-3 sessions. I'm like, wait, what? I thought I only needed one. He's like, no, you probably need 3 to 5 sessions. I was like,
and I heard it's painful. I heard it's really painful too.
That shit is like painful, man. Like, I could imagine somebody like with a flamethrower in my head, just going like this, because you can even smell it, bro. You can smell like burned skin. Yeah, no, it was super painful, man. Super painful. Every time that I needed to do like another session, like, man, they like, yeah, come back after 6 weeks. Nah, man, it took me months for me to do another session. So during that time, yeah, I was dragging that. During that time, bro, like I would just wear hats. I didn't care. But yeah, when it was like me doing consultations for new clients, like I would tell them, explain what SMP is, show them my work, blah, blah, blah. But they're like, oh, you have it? I'm like, yeah. Then I would have to explain my story to them and show them, my pictures. And some people would honestly get scared just because they would see my bad SMP, And it wasn't until the SMP Expo, I know Save called me from, I think he's in Boca or Florida. And his partner, Candice from Undo, they needed a model, and they called me up. They're like, hey, bro, like I hear you're going through laser removal. You mind if we use you as a model to do a little bit of the undo on stage? I was like, well, I need to do one more laser removal. And I think I have enough time for that to heal because I needed 6 weeks. So anyway, I got the last laser removal done. And I remember being on stage, and I was wearing a hat. I had a suit and everything, but wearing a hat, so it didn't look good, right? But nobody knew why, because I was always wearing a hat until Candace did the presentation, and then they put up my video. They explained what was happening with my case, and yeah, I took my hat, and then they started working on it. So she did a little bit of that undo removal, and Save did a little bit of the blending on stage. And since then, bro, I had probably like 10 people work on my head, SMP, like little sessions here and there. Yeah, I don't trust anybody, bro, to work on my head. The thing why is so many people, it's people that that I know, they're in the industry, they're trainers with us or with leaders. But when we do trainings international, we don't have time, bro, to like be working on each other. Like we go there, we go to another country or whatever, we're just in and out. You know, you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have
you're
time for
focused. You
shit.
just you gotta handle the business. It's not really time
Yeah,
for Ivan's SMP.
yeah, no. So just I would get sessions here and there, like 30 minutes, like not a full session, just like little areas here and there. But the last person that touched me up was Ronnie from Netherlands. We were in Netherlands. Before that was in Spain, another guy that we're doing a training from Chile. His name is Christian. And before that was another touch up in Korea. I was doing a training in Korea by Scalp. And before that was David Santiago, did a little bit of undo removal.
God damn, you got everybody on there.
And then it was Masood, it was Safe, Jeff, a little bit of everybody.
D Black,
Everybody.
don't forget D Black.
Oh, yeah, D Black did a little bit too. I forgot about D Black. That didn't count, bro, because that like faded. Good
Really?
thing it faded, bro. Yeah, it faded after 3
The
weeks.
ASMP, that's what I watch. I watched you on stage getting that done.
Mm-hmm.
That was the start of the new hairline, right? That whole process.
Yeah. So before that, there was the SMP was in the back in the middle. Nobody had touched the hairline really. Jeff had just like done a little bit, but he didn't lower my hairline. It was just where it was at. So D Black kind of like faded that a little bit, lower the hairline. I didn't want to because the idea was to do what I'm doing now, right? To let it grow. I had the foundation with the SMP. And I didn't want my hairline lower, but I felt like I had to. There was nobody else. Nobody wanted to be a model. Yeah. And their model like pretty much just bailed on him. And they're like, hey, well, we saw you on stage and you're like the organizer. Can you help us? I'm like, the translator was like coming up to me. He's like, hey, he says that he'll do really good. He promised you he'll do really good. He charges like $10,000 in Korea.
I remember the $10,000 number, and I was like, "Is that real?" I'm still don't know if that's fully accurate. You know, D Black. I hope it is for you, buddy. I hope it is.
I don't know, man. But no, he's definitely a character. When I went to do the training in Korea, I was hanging out with him over there, like we were partying and stuff.
Oh, nice. That's good. Now, if you
and I saw him again in Dubai last year. November, September was it? No, man, he doesn't speak no English, man. Like he has translators for him.
He's too busy. He's an artist. He's a real artist. You know,
he's an artist.
God. All right. I mean, that's crazy. It looks good now. So Ronnie did a great job on the most recent touch-up. Shout out to Ronnie. I like him.
Yeah, honestly, I think Ronnie's the first guy that actually did the whole head, because he actually, I thought, like, just do a little bit on the back. No, bro, he did the whole thing. Even lowered my hairline a little bit.
Yeah, he did good.
Yeah, he finalized my SMP.
One quick question before. So you said you originally trained in New York. Who'd you train with?
So there was this academy that I actually started, and this is the academy that my wife got trained for eyebrows. Fee Academy. That's where originally. Fee.
And it was SMP? You learned SMP?
Yeah. Because they have multiple trainings, not just eyebrows. They started branching into like lips and SMP and other stuff. But originally, they're well known for their eyebrows.
There's so many incredible microbladers. I can't keep up with it, to be honest. I mean, I see them. There's a lot of really, really good ones, you know. And just like you, I took microblading classes actually down in San Antonio with Laura Miranda. She's really good. And I'm doing it. I've worked on a few people, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
You did microblading?
I did for like 6 people. I took the training.
Me too. But I did powder brush. I did powder brush. I didn't do microblading. During COVID, I took an online training for powder brush, and I learned how to do it. I did it on 6 people, bro. And I was like, you know what? This is not my thing. I like SMP.
Exactly. Same thing. I was like, man, I don't have the eye for it. I didn't grow up putting makeup on. You know what I mean? I just felt like I didn't even visually know what they wanted. So I was like,
what it was the most challenging for me was the shaping of the eyebrows, man. That was hard. I couldn't do it right.
It was terrible.
They were like this, like a fucking Picasso like painting, you know?
It takes like an hour to map it out, you know?
Yeah.
To get them all perfect and everything. Okay, so that makes sense. Now, you're in Austin. You have your own thing, your own LLC. I know you're right now, you're at a crossroads on how you're kind of moving forward. How did you eventually link up with leaders and Jeff and Masood?
Yeah. So when I first started SMP, the biggest challenge that I had was to get models. With that, the first academy that I started with, they needed me to do a model for them to certify me, and how to be a real model, like to do the full sessions, and I had to do it within 6 months. So moving to Texas, man, we have no family, no friends over here. We just came here, and so I couldn't get a model really. And I remember posting up my like ads or whatever on Facebook, and nobody would reply for to be a model, and even if I was doing it for free. And that's one thing, guys. So when you guys are looking for models, if you offer anything for free, they just don't care about it. They don't see the value on, even though like you might be trained good, you're doing really good with your melons or whatever, but I feel like when you offer something for free, it doesn't get the value, so they don't really care for it. Anyway, I was struggling to get models, so how I came up with it was just to come up with like before and after mock-ups. That's how I started getting my first models to, and I would offer mock-ups. I'm like, hey, let me show you how SMP can look like on you. Send me a photo, and I would just do the mock-up. That's how I first came up with getting my clients, and I still use that to close. I would say 90% of my sales, I do mock-ups, and that's what helps sell that. Anyway, during COVID, there was a lot of people sharing knowledge in those Facebook groups, and I'm like, you know what? Let me do something too. So I share a video tutorial on how to do the SMP mockups. And I remember for 2 3 days, bro, replying back and forth to artists that would hit me up. Hey, can you show me how to do it? Because I offer them like all the files that you need in order for you to make the mockups work. I'm like, hey, all you have to do is just follow me on Instagram. That's it. I didn't charge. It was free, bro. The only thing I was asking,
Reasonable request.
the only thing that I was asking people is just follow me on Instagram. That's it. And yeah, man, I had it on a folder, and it was open folder, and somebody just deleted all the files. I was like, what the hell? Why? Anyway, I'm you know what? Let me just remove it. Somebody introduced me to Jeff. I told him about what I got going on, and they're like, you know what? Why don't you make it a real training, like a good training, and we'll host it on our platform on Leaders. And that's when Leaders was basically coming up with their online training. And I'm all right. So that's what I did. I did the mock-up better. Like I basically did a whole like training for leaders, and that's how I met Jeff. And that relationship with me started with him. They found out that I knew how to do a lot of things like uh, flyers and stuff like that. For example, that's when he was launching the FYT needles, the pink needles, and I helped them with some photos, the Pro SMP logo. I did that, like the whole FYT Pro SMP team. Like I did like the contracts and all of this stuff. I helped them out do a lot of things behind the scenes, like the ghost charts. I created that. Um, the new Apex front on the boxes. Like I helped create the like the picture on the front, like with a little pink triangle, all of that stuff. And yeah, that's how my relationship with them started. And he had his shop in Chicago, and I remember telling him that I was gonna go over there because I'm from Illinois and he's from Illinois. And I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be going over there for a little bit. Like, you mind if I shadow you? Because I already had that relationship established with him, but I didn't train with him. I just went to shadow him for like 2 days, just looking at him, and he showed me 1 2 tips, and I started implementing those tips. And that's when I showed interest that I wanted to do something more with leaders. And I remember going a few months later after going to Chicago to LA to help them with a class. But I ended up learning a lot more than actually helping. And from there, like we talked about being part of the team, and that's when I share a lot of the ideas that we're implementing now with leaders. We have a whole infrastructure, a whole system that I implemented for leaders, and that's how we're able to grow and offer something different that I don't think nobody's still doing with SMP. But yeah, man, I've done a lot behind the scenes. A lot of flyers, website, um, a lot of things that happen behind the scenes. It's me pretty much.
Okay. And so okay, so you link up with Jeff, you go and shadow
Hmm.
him, you say, I want to be I'm interested in joining the leaders. And this was when leaders
Hmm.
was still very small, right? Because I think leaders
It was
now is
only two, three. It was two, three trainers
wow.
in during that time,
Because
and
now, for people who don't know, Leaders is, if you're a new artist, Leaders is one of the, if not the biggest, I'd say SMP training. I mean, they're fucking huge in the SMP industry. They're big. I went to
Mhm.
obviously one of them at the SMP Expo,
Mhm.
um, and they all have really talented artists. I had Kat. I talked to Kat. I met a lot of them.
Mhm.
Really talented individuals, and it's very hard uh, to be in the leaders because as it grows and you guys expand. So my question is, if a person, let's say an up and coming artist, wants to be on the leaders team, what would they have to do?
So initially, for us is to take the fundamentals training for with leaders SMP. We offer a full fundamentals training that we teach anybody from zero all the way to uh, you know knowing how to do the most natural hairlines, right? But in order for you to scale or move up, is like we have like a scaling system. You start from student all the way to master trainer. So we have requirements I guess each step, and then we will assign you a new certificate and a new badge so you can post or whatever, and put on your work. It's pretty much taking that initiative of not only taking the training with us, but to show good work, to show good work, make sure that you're consistent, and that you show that you are a go-getter, that you're not just a good artist and you're just there, but like to show that you go the extra mile as well. We want somebody that is motivated and somebody that will contribute also to the team. We understand that we're not perfect. The system might not be perfect. The academy might not be perfect. But if you have something to add to make it better, that's the type of people that we're looking for. Again, having a great work, and showing consistency, being positive, being a go-getter, and making sure that you get along with everybody, and that you can represent us in your region or in your country. Because at this point we're not only in the U.S., we're globally.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are flying all over the damn place, doing trainings everywhere. Um, so you're saying a student. So is that first initial training? Does that have to be in person or is that
In
online?
person.
Okay.
So in person fundamentals, a master class, which is an advanced class or online, they don't count, right? We do get a lot of like seasoned artists that are even doing their own trainings already, wanting to just automatically join leaders. It's like we don't know your fundamentals. We don't know who taught you. We don't know how you teach. You have to take the training from scratch because it doesn't matter if you take the class with me in Austin or you go with Jeff in LA, you go with Masood. In Montreal, you go with Katie. In Toronto, you go with Clay. In Ohio, you go to Netherlands and with Ronnie, or Korea, whatever. We want to make sure that you have the same fundamentals. Doesn't matter where you go. So we have a whole system. So if we're gonna make somebody a trainer, like let's say in I don't know, a random country, if you're never taking the class with us, how are we gonna know if you're gonna teach the same way that we are? So you
Makes
have to
sense.
take the fundamentals with us.
Makes sense. And for Okay, so a
It
person
took me
who's
a while. It took me a while for to convince Jeff and Masood to do this, bro, because they're like, we don't want our training to be diluted. Man, it took me a whole year to work on the system and convince them to open it up for older people because
I
it
think
was.
I think it's smart. I mean, it opens up new opportunities for more people and ultimately more
Mhm.
sales and help more people.
You
That's
know,
really what it comes down to.
exactly.
Um, okay, that's all good information. So write that down, people. If you're looking to get into leaders, listen to this, listen to it again. All right. Reach out to Ivan. He'll answer your questions. Um, how many sessions do you normally do, Ivan?
For full Norwood 7, we typically
For
do two to three sessions. I do honestly, my sessions are like 1.5 sessions. I do 3 to 4 hours per session. And the third session takes me a little bit less time to do, but I still do 3 sessions.
good, good. What's your approach when you get to the natural hairline? So because sometimes, so people listening, you look at some of their videos, right? They're drawing all these crazy lines. It looks like a bunch of W zigzags, mountains on their head. What do you do?
Mhm.
What are you doing there for the people who don't know?
I've seen it where like people do like the zigzag and the shark teeth pretty much, right? And then
Yeah.
you look at their picture and it's straight. I'm like, what you do all that for? Yeah, it's pretty much even if somebody asks me for a sharp edge up, a barber edge up, um, I still try to do it where it looks natural, where it's not super dense, it's not oversaturated, it's not super straight. If you look at anybody's buzz cut when they're not bald, nobody has a perfect hairline. It's natural, which is like it's curvy, it's uneven, and that's what we try to do. Even if somebody asks me for the edge up, I try to do it where it looks a little bit natural. So like the dots right here, a little bit broken up. And when you look at people's work, and that is what is gonna, I guess, make you look a little bit different than most. It's just a natural hairline. It wins everywhere you go. That's why, like, for example, when we go to Europe and to do trainings, nobody likes that edge up that it's very popular here in the US, and not everywhere. It's mainly like, I don't know,
Where
like
I'm at, where I'm at.
New
Yeah.
York,
Philadelphia.
Florida, all that area, right? Um, but if you go to, like, for example, Europe, they call it the American hairline, right? And they don't really like that. That's what they call it, yeah. And they're like, no, no, we don't like that. We don't want that. So yeah, it's if you when you know how to do a nice natural hairline, it opens up a whole nother demographic that if you only post sharp edge ups on your Instagram, because you're gonna basically get clients that are maybe non-Hispanic or non-African Americans, because we love that type of work, like Latinos and blacks, but you're not gonna do that type of hairline on a 60-year-old white guy, bro. Like you can't.
It's a very low chance. It's a very low chance.
It doesn't look right.
So when you're coming in on a natural, so I love that you said that you on a straight line edge up, you're still making it natural because I think
Mhm.
that looks best. When you're doing the natural hairline, do you usually start a little bit higher for the first session and then go
Yeah,
down the
first
second session?
session is just like everybody knows this, right? But maybe not everybody. You can always add more. You cannot take away. This is permanent. So this is our approach when it comes down to any type of hairline. Doesn't matter if it's an edge up, if it's a natural or receded. You always want to start a little bit higher than normal, because you can always bring it down. You cannot take away. You cannot erase that hairline. And what if that client is like, hey, it's too low? Can we go a little bit higher? No, you can't. But you can always bring it down. So we can bring it down on the second or even third session. So always start a little bit higher, and you can always bring it down on this on second or third session.
And do you change the needle size when you're doing the hairline? So let's say you had someone my
Mm-hmm.
skin tone, a white guy, I'd say more of an olive skin, an Italian white guy. Would you use, I don't know, 0.20 here and 0.18 here?
So it all depends. This is what I tell everybody when it comes down to our students in our classes. Is like I cannot tell you what specific needle to use, what machine, what voltage to use, or speed on the machine, or the needle size, because you're gonna let your customer determine what you need to do. You can use, let's say you have a, I don't know, your skin complexion, which is a Fitzpatrick 1 or 2, right? I could use a 503 or a 403, 603. What if you had a hair transplant and your skin is tough, and the needle doesn't penetrate any of the pigment, right? Like you just cannot automatically assume that you're gonna go in with a certain needle size. So you're just gonna let the skin tell you what you need to do.
Yep.
But typically, I would start with a smaller size needle and just see how it looks. Also, the biggest and most important tool that we have, it's our hand, which is gonna be your pressure. Your pressure. You can have a big size needle and make big impressions, medium impressions, and small impressions. It's all on your pressure on your hand and how you handle the machine, which is that technique, which is the most important thing.
By far, the most difficult is the pressure, by far. It's the
Hmm.
hardest part for everybody to learn. I mean, it took me a couple years to get my pressure down, years. And
Hmm.
I was lucky to get into SMP before it really blew up. And so I basically, I got to work on a lot more people, I'd say, than someone who's coming in today in my beginning. And it's very hard to get the pressure down. It really
Hmm.
is. And for those of you who don't know what he was talking about, when he's talking about working on someone who had a hair transplant, they get scar tissue around where all these transplanted hairs are. Their scar tissue, it's very dense. So you have to use a lot more pressure and probably a bigger needle because it's just
Hmm.
the skin's not going to absorb the ink the way it would if there was no transplanted hair in that region.
Yep, exactly.
What would you say to up and coming artists right now, Ivan? Because obviously you guys are training people. Everybody's training people. We'll say everybody's training people. The industry is growing. I still don't think we're mainstream. We still have
Yep,
plenty of room to
of
grow.
course.
I
It's
mean,
not blown up like you just said. Nobody knows about SMP still.
yeah, nobody knows about it. But I mean, what would you say to up and coming artists right now? What would be the number one thing they should focus on?
Right now, it's a great time to learn SMP because, like you said, not a lot of people still know about SMP, and when it does, you probably is going to be too late. You want to make sure that you get on this industry now, because right now it's great because a lot of the tips and tricks that are shared nowadays is something that people that started SMP before we did didn't know. They had to basically fuck a lot of people's heads for them to learn. We don't do that anymore. Like we already know what needles work, what machines work, the pigments, all of that. It's just a matter of following those guidelines that this guy's left for us. And there's always going to be somebody that is going to try to do something different, but we already know what works and what doesn't work, you know. And to make sure that you do your research, and I cannot stress that enough. When if you follow me on my Instagram, I'm always posting stuff and try to educate not only my clients but other artists and people wanting to learn. It's to always do your research. Make sure that whoever you're going to learn from can actually teach you what you want to learn, that they will have a good follow, that you're going to follow up with you and see what they offer, what they offer you, how long they've been doing SMP, where they actually learn from, what tools they use. Everything's important when it comes down to like you doing your research. I have to say this because I see this all the time in our classes. A good 80% of our students come from other academies or other trainers. So they already had spent a lot of money before coming into us, maybe 1 or 2, even 3 trainings, and they still didn't learn the most fundamental things, which is what needles to use, how to mix the pigment, what machine to use. They don't know how to design good hairlines, which is the most fundamental things, the things that we see on first day in our class. So yeah, just make sure that you do your research. It's very important. So that way you don't waste your time, you don't waste money, and most important that you don't fuck somebody's head up, because people dealing with hair loss is already hard as is, and if you do a bad job, they're gonna, man, they're gonna be so their self-esteem is gonna be so low, and you
And they
don't
might
know
come
how
after
that.
you and talk shit.
Yeah, and then the biggest thing about this, I think, is a reputation. But at the end of the day, man, it's a client. The people dealing with the hair loss. This is what we do. What we do. Most of us uh, are doing what we're doing and so passionate about it because we saw a change in somebody that we did in the beginning. It's like you changed their life. Like these guys will call you, that will text you, that will thank you so much for helping them out. They stop wearing hats. That's what happened to me in the beginning. I fell in love with the industry, with the service, and how I made other people feel when it came down to the after doing the SMP. So make sure that you do a good job researching, not only for you but for the client, the person that you're going to work on.
Yeah, good stuff. Do you got some more time, Ivan? You got a couple, you
Yeah,
got
for
like
sure.
10, 20 minutes. Okay, so we covered most of that stuff. So now I want to get into some of the details. What's it like being an SMP artist and trainer for leaders traveling all over the world? Specifically, I kind of want to know and let the people know who are listening, some of the behind the scenes details. So how does it kind of work? If you guys are doing, I don't know, a 20 or 10 or 20 person class, something like that, and
Hmm.
it's in some random country, do you fly yourself out? Do you guys all meet there? How many trainers are there?
Hmm.
Is Jeff the only one get paid? I would imagine he's not the only one who gets paid.
Okay.
How does
Yeah,
that all
that's a
work?
good question. So look, at the end of the day, once we name the academy names you a master trainer, that means that you can do your own trainings. You don't have to
Okay,
really
okay.
you don't have to really ask permission, unless it's like we have two trainers in the same area, same region, same country. Hey, make sure that when you talk to each other, so you don't overlap trainings. Because
So
when
it's
it
not
comes down
just
to.
it's not just Masood and Jeff saying, "Okay, guys, we're going here, we're going there."
Mm-mm. No, no.
Okay,
Everybody has their own way of doing things, right? But
okay.
I feel like the main people doing the trainings is always us three. It's Jeff, Masood, me, doing the trainings international. And you know what, Jay from the UK, from London, he's been doing a lot of trainings too. He is the one who first organized the first training that we did in Dubai, and the second one because he had already been in Dubai a few times.
Who
So
who
how it
who is
worked,
that?
Jay from Elixir,
Alexa. Okay.
London.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, he's a trainer with us too. But yeah, he had already been, for example, in Dubai, and hey, let's do a training there. And we have a rule when it comes down to the amount of trainers per student. So if you have more than 5 trainers, I'm sorry, more than 5 students, you need to have a second trainer. You cannot
Good.
train more than 5 people by yourself. You need a
Love that.
assistant,
Love that.
another master trainer, or assistant, master assistant. So that's the number one rule. So we have enough attention to the students, right? So yeah, for example, if I don't know, if I do a training in, I don't know, I've been going to Spain a lot because I've been very popular there. Anyway, in Spain, for example, next class that I'm gonna have is gonna be me and Masood. We have right now 15 students. It's gonna be me, him, and somebody else helping us as a trainer assistant, and we might have other trainers join in. But it all depends. Every training is a little bit different. Um, it all depends on the organizer. We actually get somebody locally to help us organize a class, or if it's just me and another trainer pushing the class. But at the end of the day, like I said, this is kind of like your own, I don't know, mini franchise that you can just do your own trainings anywhere you want,
That's
as
a
long
lot.
as it don't
I
overlap.
love to hear that. That
Mhm.
opens up opportunity for people. Okay, I had no idea that's how it
Yeah.
works. This is
Hmm.
good shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so like okay, now Joey Dots is a leaders trainer. If I say I want to make a training in North Carolina, then I would just try to get as many people, to the training or whatever. And
Hmm.
then after I exceed a certain number, I bring on another trainer, and then that's kind of how it works. And
Hmm.
and
Yep.
um and you guys have kind of a signature leader shirt, right? The logo and all
Hmm.
that. You give all your
Hmm.
clients. The kits are included, I'm assuming.
They're optional. We have
Okay.
optional kits, but yeah, it's like I said, it doesn't matter if they take a training, let's say with you, let's say you're leaders in Delaware or New Jersey or New York, whatever. They're gonna have the same um, access to the same kits, the same system, pretty much. From student all the way to master, the same curriculum, the same tools that we use, the same way that we teach. It's the same everything really. It's just at that point if you wanna take a class with Joey or Jeff or whoever, it's up to you. That's you
Okay.
sell yourself at that point too. It's not only just the brand or the
Makes sense.
academy.
That's a smart way of doing it. I like to hear that. That's very cool. So you're going back to Spain. What are the dates of that, Ivan?
Yeah, so I'm going to Germany first. I'm opening up first time. We've never been in Germany, so we're gonna do a Germany first. I'm gonna do Germany, Frankfurt. I'm gonna be there 4, 5, and 6 of April. Then after that, I'm gonna go to Madrid. We're gonna have a fundamentals training and a master class, and I'm gonna do that with Masood. And it's gonna be 12th, 13th, and 14th of April.
Oh, so are you flying back to Texas, then flying back
No,
out?
no, because there's gonna be like a gap of 4 days. So right now, I don't know what I'm gonna do. If I'm gonna stay in Germany or I'm gonna go to Madrid to do private trainings or to do regular
Couple
clients,
sessions.
couple
Okay.
sessions. Yeah,
Good for you, man. How's that on the family? Just curious.
it's tough, man. Especially now that I've been doing this for a few years now. It's getting a little bit tiring because again, you guys got to understand that it's not only just being there those 2, 3 days, 4 days, whatever.
You're not just
It's
standing around with your hands in your
no,
pockets.
no, man. It's a lot of things that we gotta do behind the scenes. And like I said, I do most when it's like international trainings and I'm gonna be there. I handle everything on the back end, which is a lot of things. The I don't
It
know
looks
the
stressful,
graphics,
man. It looks
the
stressful. Just setting it up, getting the venue, talking to the people, putting the deposit. That just looks like a
all
pain
that.
in the ass.
It's not easy, bro. Like I said, I'm always working, but I don't see it as work, and I don't want to see it as work because when the moment that I see it as work, I'm gonna be over it. I want to do something else. Like I'm always working, but I don't see it as work. I
I feel the
love
same
I love
way.
to do this. I love to do this.
Yeah.
Like I
It's
said,
fun.
that's what I told you in the beginning of the podcast. I mean, you do above and beyond, your regular job, right? This is extra stuff. But yeah, no, I love doing it, man. Like, my biggest challenge right now is being able to delegate some of the work, like the graphics and the social media and the website and the marketing, things like that. But I feel like I'll get to the point where like we're gonna be a lot bigger, and then we're gonna have to have somebody else do it. But yeah, no, there's a lot of things that we are planning for the future, for leaders and for the SMP Expo. And SMP Expo, I feel like we have put that project on parking right now because it's a lot of work, man.
Oh, it looks
I,
it.
I, I, did, I did a lot of work. I did a lot of work behind the scenes. And me, Jeff, Masood, and Debbie were the ones that did the SMP Expo in Tulum and in Phoenix. And we had a plan to do one in LA, but it was just tough on me, man. Because to be honest, I worked on the SMP Expo like a whole year behind the scenes, and it was a lot of work. And I told them I need a break.
Let it
I need
build
a
up.
little break.
Honestly, let it build up more too, because you guys are going to other shit in other countries anyway. You know what I mean? Let it
It's
build
not
up.
only
Let
it's not
people
only the
want
it's not only the international trainings, man. We get invited to a lot of these conferences too. A lot of conferences in different countries. Like for
yeah,
example,
those
I
PMU
have
things.
yeah a lot of conferences. I have this year lined up. I have to go to Peru, Chile, Mexico, and a few others. Spain.
Good
I
for
got
you,
Spain coming
man.
up.
Good for
I
you.
know Jeff is going to Russia, man. Like he's going to Russia, man.
Russia. He's going to Russia. Jeff's going to
He's
Russia.
going to Russia. I think so for a conference. I know they've been to Thailand too. I got invited to a Thailand conference. I couldn't make it, but I mean, it's a lot of work, guys. And you know what? There is maybe a handful of people doing what we're doing. I mean, I'm not talking about just leaders, like artists doing international trainings and conferences. There's not that many people doing what we're doing. And at the end of the day, what we're doing, we're pushing the whole industry for other people to know what SMP is. Because still a lot of artists still don't know what SMP is. And what we do, it helps everybody. It helps the whole industry. Because we go there not to represent leaders or me or whatever. It's SMP. Especially when we go to these PMU conferences, we're the only guys talking about SMP. There's like 20, 30 ladies, presenting eyebrows, like the same area, same eyebrows. It's just different techniques. They call it differently or whatever. But nobody's talking about SMP. It's rare that you see an SMP artist in some of these conferences.
Well, thank you for going to these things and spreading the word about SMP. It looks very stressful. It looks very tedious. There's definitely a lot of stuff behind the work. It's tough on your family, but you are growing the industry, and we thank you, Ivan, and the leaders team, seriously, because the more people know about SMP, ultimately, the more lives change and the more money we can all kind of make.
Yeah,
that's because there's plenty of bald people to go around. In my opinion, there's plenty of bald people going around.
Oh yeah.
That's wild that all these different places you're going to. I mean, you must be. Hopefully, you're using rewards points for something, right? You use the American airline card or something.
The funny thing about traveling, man, not a lot of people know, and I think I did share this on one of my stories, man. I get panic attacks fucking flying out, bro. Like it's not easy for me to travel. No, man. Like I get panic attacks. Like I can't sleep. It's tough, man. But I'm still doing it. It's a little fear that I have, but hey, I'm still going everywhere, and I have to.
Is your fear the takeoff? Is it the takeoff?
I feel like because there's a huge time difference too, especially when we go to Europe or Asia or whatever. There's a huge time difference. So it's the body getting used to it. And I can't sleep and I get desperate. And when I take like sleeping pills, it makes it even worse. But yeah, that's why when you see me outside of the US in different countries, like teaching or doing SMP with the sunglasses, man, I have to, because I use regular prescription glasses, right? But yeah, my eyes are super red, and like my eyes just look crazy. So because I don't sleep, I sleep like 1-2 hours per day.
I get it, man. It's tough. It's tough. Hey, I appreciate
it's worth it though. It's worth it. Like it's definitely a challenge. It's not easy to do what we do, but we see our vision. We have a huge vision. We see where SMP is going in the near future, and we just can't wait to be there.
Good. What is something you would like to see improved in the SMP industry? Like something, I guess, amongst artists or just the industry in general?
Man, that's a tough one. I feel like this industry, man. I don't know if it's just industry or what it is, but there are huge egos in this industry. Okay, and I tell you because I experienced that firsthand from everybody, just being in the middle of everything. Doing more collaborations and just helping each other to basically spread the word about SMP. I would like to see more improvement in the trainings and basically holding that trainer accountable for their students. Because I see a lot of people going into the group, right, the forums on Facebook, and they just be posting their work and be asking for the most fundamentals, most basic things that it should have been covered on the fundamentals training. And I see a lot of people with a lot of experience, telling them, a lot of tips. And it's like, why are you telling them? First of all, like, you should have their training or their trainer, tell them these basic things. It's not our responsibility for the community to teach them, because we didn't get nothing from that person. But I see it both ways. I see it in the way where, like, yeah, he might have spent a lot of money to the wrong trainer, and he's struggling. Yeah, we can help a little bit, but when it comes down to like more more detailed answer or information, you should seek your trainer or look to get better. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, it's hurting everybody because you're doing bad work on a real person, and that real person, it's out there with a blue hat and spreading the bad name of what SMP is, and that's not what SMP should look like. It should be undetectable.
Yeah, get
You
your
know,
neutralizer, people. Ghost.
get a
No, that's
neutralizer
I
or
agree.
watch your
I
pressure.
agree with you, Ivan. Ivan, I agree with you. There's definitely a lot of big egos. Um, and there's definitely a lot of big egos that may or may not be teaching properly, depending how you see it. And I love that you said you guys have five. If you exceed five, one person for every five students is a great ratio. It's a great
Hmm.
ratio. I think because then you can get enough FaceTime with everybody. They can ask you
Yeah.
questions, because anything over that, you got to be realistic. Unless you're going to be there for a full week, I mean,
I tell this to all my classes. This is how I start. You guys are here for me to teach you SMP. After the class, it's a lot of information that we're going to share. There's not enough time for me to share everything, but we do have a mentorship after the training where, like, they can ask us any questions, any concerns. We're always there to help, and it's a way for me to be accountable to those students,
mm,
and for them to feel like they're not alone. Okay. And also we have like groups, and we have other ways for them to like get more information as far as like the fundamentals information. But it's important to be accountable to those students for sure, because it's important. Um, in your area, there only might be one, two SMP artists, and you see them probably as your competition. So it's not like you get to talk to a lot of artists in your area or even see work. So we understand that. So that's why it's important for us to be able to have that motivation for them. Be there to be supportive, and also we tell them from the beginning, you guys are here to learn SMP, but there's a whole other side of the coin that we don't go over in detail, which is the business side of things. That's the most
ba 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 ba.
challenging thing. Okay, in the beginning, when I would start teaching, I would take it personal because I wouldn't hear back from students. I would never see them do anything after the class, and I felt like it was something that I was doing wrong as a trainer, as a teacher, or whatever. But it's not me. At the end of the day, I understand that it's that student. If somebody's hungry, somebody's a go-getter, they're gonna make it happen one way or another, right? But I understand the big challenge, which is the marketing, the website, the whole business aspect is a whole other thing that is not covered in detail, right?
You
If
can't
you
cover it. I mean, you got to focus on just
Hell,
becoming a good artist. The business stuff you're
mhm,
gonna have to do kind of on your own,
right.
unfortunately.
And if you have a good foundation for sales and customer service, that helps. If you're a great artist, but you don't know how to sell your service, you need to take some additional training
Mm.
on how to handle your customers or have somebody else do it for you, because that
Yeah,
helps for sure.
and don't get scammed because there's so many damn scams out there. I'm not even going to go into that.
Oh yeah, no, I got scammed a few times, man. So I
Oh
understand.
yeah, oh yeah. What are your socials, Ivan? This is all great information. How can someone find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, and I actually is right here under my name,
Ivan
Ivan
Perez.
SMP.
And what's
If you
your
have any
website?
questions as far as SMP or training, just let me know. I'll help you out. It's ivanalvarado.com. That's my website.
IvanAlvarado.com. Okay. YouTube, you on
Hmm.
YouTube?
Yeah, I think Ivan SMP as well on YouTube. I'm not so active on TikTok or YouTube. Mainly, it's gonna be Instagram.
Okay.